The champagne's been sprayed, the trophies engraved. And now, the clock turns back to zero. It's 1999, a whole new season, and renewed optimism for the men and machines of Formula One. The quest for the FIA World Championship begins now on Fox Sports Net. Welcome to Melbourne, Australia for round one of the World Championship and our Toyota pre-race coverage of the Grand Prix of Australia. Round one of the FIA Formula One World Championship. Welcome. I'm Mike Joy, delighted to be with you once again this season on Fox Sports Net. They're on the formation lap here at the Albert Park circuit, as I'm joined by five-time winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Derek Bell. Reconnaissance lap, excuse me. I'm too excited, Derek. It's the new season. We're ready to go.
There's several reconnaissance laps, Mike. Yes. No, it was very exciting last year. I must admit it right down to the wire, but at the end a bit of a damp squib, I think, with poor old Schumacher's problems. But this year, I think it's going to be much closer, although I must say the Ferraris aren't quite up to par at the moment, but there's a long way to go.
Well, it's a whole new year, and let's join our expert in the pit lane, the consulting editor of F1 Racing Magazine, Peter Windsor.
Thanks, Mike. Well, if you thought 1998 was good, if you were absorbed, as we all were, by the titanic struggle between McLaren and Ferrari, between Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen, in a struggle that went right down to the wire and resulted in Mika winning his first World Championship, then wait and see what we've got in store for you today here in Melbourne at the start of the 1999 Formula One World Championship. Ferrari have everything to prove. They've won races, now they need to win a championship. McLaren, however, appear still to be on top, even though everybody's now on the same tyres. Behind them, the three Supertech teams split by no more than a thousandth of a second. Prost, Jordan, Stewart, right up there with them. It's going to be close. New engines, new chassis, reliability in this heat's going to be at a premium. I can't wait. Back to you.
World champion McLaren Mercedes cars out on their recon lap, and you'll see a lot of new colors and new faces as we take you to this opening round of the World Championship. Well, let's have a look first, though, Derek, at some of the highlights of what was a tremendous 1998 season.
The controversial 98 race season began when McLaren team orders dictated that David Coulthard allow his teammate Mika Hakkinen to pass him for victory in the closing laps of the race.
What David did was just remarkable. I don't have seen many drivers doing things like this.
Hakkinen, Coulthard and Michael Schumacher each claimed victory in the following races. And then, of course, it was the showdown at Monaco. As always, the colour, Monte Carlo, provides the celebrities and the tense moments. Schumacher and Wirtz battled at Lowe's. Wirtz later crashed into the barrier. Coulthard blew an engine and Hakkinen stormed to his first Monaco victory.
Winning Monte Carlo is always a dream, always has been a dream.
As always, we witnessed a near disaster as the racers collided at the first turn. Not once, but twice. Absolute shambles. And then at the British Grand Prix, it resembled a hydroplane race more than F1. Both McLarens had problems in the wet stuff as Schumacher takes the checkered flags in the pits. The Flying Finn and Michael Schumacher battled throughout the European circuit, and by the Hungarian Grand Prix, Michael was within 7 points of Hakkinen.
The maximum I was thinking to achieve was being first and Mika second. What happened today is absolutely ideal for the championship.
Near disaster struck again in Belgium as the race cars literally broke apart at the start. And later on, Schumacher blows the lead when he crashes into a slower David Coulthard. Tempers flared, but Michael came back, winning the Italian Grand Prix and tying Hakkinen for championship points. By the final race in Japan, Mika Hakkinen's lead over Schumacher is just 4 points. The stage was set, but the drama was short-lived. Michael stalls on the grid, suffers a puncture, and hands the World Championship to Mika Hakkinen. Ferrari will have to wait till next year.
David Coulthard completing his reconnaissance lap, coming around here. Brief shower this morning, but it looks like it's going to be a beautiful afternoon for the race today. Well, McLaren Mercedes have had a chance to savor this championship for some 3 months. Peter can give us an update on how they look forward to the coming year.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, of course, the two key figures of the 1998 season were Mika Hakkinen and his team owner Ron Dennis. I caught up with them a couple of days ago at a McLaren Mercedes lunch very nearby the circuit. I asked Mika how it felt to be racing as world champion.
It feels really nice. It definitely feels better than the feeling now is definitely better than last year, year before. I got much more confidence for the racing, for the Grand Prix, and more confidence for the team. It just feels like I do understand much more now how to do it, how to win the races and how to win the championship. And I got more confidence with that this year.
How did it feel when you got back in the car for the first time?
A piece of cake, really. It was easy. It's so natural for me to drive the racing car and drive it fast, so it was easy. And that's it, really. It was great fun.
For team owner Ron Dennis, of course, the job now is to win back-to-back championships. I asked him if it was easier to start the year as champions, or perhaps not.
You have to be sharp, make sure there's no complacency creeps in, and really ensure that when you leave a Grand Prix, that you can look back on it and say you've given 100%.
So they're cool, calm and very relaxed. At the moment it looks good for the reigning world champions, although as we saw on Friday, even Mika Hakkinen gets a bit overconfident sometimes. Back to you, Mike.
Well, McLaren enters the season as favorites once again. Eddie Irvine out on his reconnaissance lap. There are new contenders and new faces this season. There are some new safety rules and new paint schemes and lots to talk about. We'll show you how some of these faces fit into the Formula One picture when we come back. Welcome back to our Toyota pre-race in the Grand Prix of Australia. Some of the cars have been out for reconnaissance laps. The defending world champion McLaren Mercedes have not. Mika Hakkinen back in, out of his car, having a few looks at things as we look at some of what is new for 1999, and there's a lot that's new. Let's start with drivers. Brazilian Ricardo Zonta is part of the new BAR team, while Tom Walkinshaw of Arrows has hired Pedro De La Rosa. The most familiar new face to American fans, Alex Zanardi, who returns to Formula One after 2 kart championships. The Minardi team has Luca Badoer, Ferrari test driver, and Marc Genet, who will spend today's race out there.
And then, of course, the drivers aren't the only changes. The tyres are their own story. And, of course, this year we only have Bridgestone as the tyre supplier. But a 4th groove has been added, and, of course, Benetton has an all-new front suspension and some brakes that we're not too sure about. The Prost, of course, is sporting some new front wings or little wings on the side pod. You can see them there. John Barnard has joined from Arrows, always conduct some tweaks, and now, of course, we've got some pretty colours coming on, Mike.
Yeah, the color of money this year is orange at Arrows, not pretty. And there's a new blue joining the red of the Williams. And the BAR car, they wanted to run one car in white and one car in blue. Formula One said no, so this is the compromise committee design solution. It is, to say the least, unique. McLaren Mercedes out on reconnaissance lap and back into the pits as we close in on the start of the 1991 season. One of the big changes here, a new driver, not new to Formula One, returning to Formula One. Here is Peter with Alex Zanardi.
That's right, Mike, a man who needs no introduction to American race fans, Alex Zanardi. Or should it be Alessandro now you're back in Formula One?
No, we'll stick to Alex.
Okay, so you're on the straight, you're approaching a tight corner. Tell us how different it is in a Formula One car compared with a kart chassis.
Initially not so different. When you get to the corner, as you slow down, it's quite different because the car has no grip at all. It's difficult to keep the car on the same line every lap. Nevertheless, somebody does it, so it's not impossible.
Left foot braking, how are you getting on with left foot braking in Formula One?
Actually, I'm right foot braking now. I got a pedal, a big fat pedal that I can do both, and it was kind of funny that the first time I switched back to the system, I was now, at that point I was used then to left foot brake, And the first time I concentrated and I hit the brake with my right foot, it was natural to take my hand off the steering wheel and look for the gear lever, which wasn't obviously there. It's okay now, it's getting better.
Now, have you had any good wishes from Chip Ganassi or Jimmy Vasser yet?
Oh, indeed, I have plenty from all the boys. I mean, I still have so much love from these guys, and I spoke to Chip last week, I spoke to Jimmy 2 days ago, and I hope they're going to do well, as I hope I'm going to do well over here.
Alex Zanardi making his debut with Williams in Formula One and with a lot of support from North America. Back to you, Mike.
Well, he shows great promise, and we'll be keenly interested in his progress.
You may well wonder what the cars are doing right now. They have 15 minutes in which they're allowed to go out, do 1 lap, into the pits, do some alterations, back out of the pit lane and go on until they're satisfied, then line up on the grid. But they only have 15 minutes in which to do it. That's what
Michael
they're doing.
Schumacher on Ferrari that's on track right now. And by the way, Zanardi promises, should he win in Formula One, none of his kart trademark donuts. We're closing in on the start of the season, and we'll have a look at qualifying for this weekend's Grand Prix. Extremely close. We'll show it to you when we come back. Welcome back to our Toyota pre-race coverage for the Grand Prix of Australia from Melbourne. Our next telecast upcoming is from Brazil. The Brazilian Grand Prix is April 11th here on Fox Sports Net, so make a note on your racing calendar and join us live for the Grand Prix of Brazil. What a beautiful day for a race down here in Australia. Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard have both been out on track taking these reconnaissance laps as we close in on race time. 66 degrees, track temperature just 72, low humidity and a light breeze. No chance of rain the rest of the day. It's going to be a busy season here on Fox Sports Net for Formula One. We'll bring you the entire Formula One World Championship, Brazil April 11th. San Marino May 2nd, and on to Monaco. What a beautiful, storied, historic race that is, and so picturesque for us. To Spain, to Canada, France, Great Britain, and Austria through the summer months. Germany, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Europe, the new Grand Prix of Malaysia in October, and we'll end the season once again in Japan at the end of October.
Well, this is Mika Hakkinen just going out for another lap. Just a reconnaissance to check everything out. They're obviously checking things out very heavily as David Coulthard slips up onto the grid. This sort of shambles at this moment. Well, now the circuit. Albert Park, Melbourne, a lovely circuit, 3.95 miles round. It's, of course, in a park. It's only used once a year, so it's very green. The circuit is very dirty. But the grip continually improves as fresh rubber is put down. So the engineers and the drivers have to adapt the car for changing track conditions. But my goodness me, there's a lot of braking, a lot of high-speed stuff. So it's all right down to the driver and the absolute technical side of the car, in fact.
Well, let's have a look at how they did in qualifying. 50,000 fans turned out yesterday for the first qualifying run of 1999, and Johnny Herbert was the first on track.
Next was Alex Zanardi having his first run in the World Championship for some 5 years.
Mika Hakkinen went out and took the pole from early pole sitter Rubens Barrichello.
And then, of course, up went Marc Genet and his Minardi 4, took some grass, and he's actually on his way back to France right now. Jacques Villeneuve had quite a wild spin, showing off all the livery on his car. Everybody having moments on the grass. Here's Michael Schumacher having a lurid time, trying to get up there on the front row, but failed. Got 3rd place. Heinz Harald Frentzen had a great 5th place. Sliding around a lot. Damon Hill wasn't happy, but Heinz Harald did a great job.
Big drama late in qualifying. Coulthard pips Hakkinen for the pole by 1,000th of a second, but the flying Finn comes back and knocks off pole position by nearly half a second from his McLaren Mercedes teammate. The big surprise of qualifying, let's meet him. Here's Peter.
4th position is just so pleased for the team. You know, the car is giving a good chance for myself.
When was the last time Rubens Barrichello enjoyed driving this much?
Oh, it was a long time ago, I tell you. 97 was a good car. Stewart made a good car, but this one has all the thinking. It's so straight, and it's a good car, and I'm delighted to be part of the team right now.
Well, congratulations, and have a great race today.
I will. Thank you.
Well, Derek, they've made a lot of changes with the tires over the last 3 years, but what has not changed so much as we look at Mika Hakkinen's championship defending McLaren Mercedes, what hasn't changed much are the qualifying pole times here.
Yes, they haven't indeed. As you can see, Jacques Villeneuve did a 1:29.3 in 97. Hakkinen did a 1:30 last year, and he's done a 1:30 this year. Remember, It was on slicks in 97. They were on 3-groove front tyres last year, and they're on 4 grooves in the front tyre this year. So it shows how actual technical development of the cars has come on.
Here's David Coulthard walking out, getting set for the start of this campaign, hoping to improve on his 3rd place points position from 1998. Well, Peter, must be a lot of anticipation and enthusiasm down in the pit lane as we get set for the start of yet another new season. Now let's get your thoughts before we go green.
Thanks, Mike. Hate to talk too much about technical aspects, but this weekend really has been defined by tyres and by engines. Much harder compound tyre this year for all the drivers, and it's brought a new catchphrase into the weekend: window of controllability. The window of controlling the car when it's sliding is now much smaller on this harder compound Bridgestone. Partly because Bridgestone are a monopoly, partly because we have 4 grooves on the front. The cars are sliding all over the place. Ferrari had a problem with this. They tested in Europe on very grippy circuits, Fiorano and Mugello. Came here to Melbourne, sliding all over the place. This is where engines came into play. Big talk now about how light all the engines are in the Formula One cars. The Ilmor engine, the Mercedes Ilmor engine, something like 97 kilos. That gives McLaren enormous scope to build a car underweight. Same with Ferrari. They then ballast it up to the weight limit, and that ballast is something they can move around in the car to solve handling problems. It took Ferrari a couple of days to get the handling right, but by the end of qualifying they were just about there. So tyres, engines, it's a technology race as ever, but those guys out there are going to be the stars. Back to you.
Well, it's been quite hectic. They're working on Häkkönen's car in the garage just now, pushed it out as if they were going to take it out as a spare car on the grid. Meanwhile, they've been working very hard on his car on the grid, had all the wheels off and doing a lot of work, but it seems to have quietened down a bit now, so maybe the drama's over.
They're making adjustments to the end plate of the front wing. One of the mechanics there apparently banged into the computer display there. The United States Grand Prix will occur once again here. Mika Häkkinen walking out. Of course, what we are looking forward to is the U.S. Grand Prix in the year 2000. After many years' absence, Formula One racing will return to the United States at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. F1 head Bernie Ecclestone had quite a number of suitors to choose from. San Francisco, Atlanta areas were all in the running, but he decided on the mystique of the Brickyard and the package put together by Tony George for the upcoming package beginning in the year 2000. They'll run clockwise at Indianapolis. That's never been done. New garages, new pit suites is required by F1, now under construction. They'll run through the infield adjacent the golf course and then back out onto the front straightaway and across the yard of bricks.
The most impressive thing to me, first of all, is we're going to start on the start finishing line is going to be that strip of the old bricks that used to be there. Now that's a bit of history. In 1911 that race was first held, and those same bricks are there. We're going to cross them to start our race, and then we're going to go the wrong way around the circuit up to what is turn 4 for them will be turn 1 to us. The infield is very interesting. The safety that they're looking at is very good. The best debris fences in the world are at Indianapolis. So I think the total package is going to be very exciting.
And we can't wait. A bit of drama here as Mika Häkkinen has a misfire in his car. He will go to the spare that will be lined up for him for the start of this race. Well, Jeff Gordon, NASCAR star, wants to try a Formula One car, and Jackie Stewart has extended an invitation. We'll see. And we'll take a lap around the Albert Park circuit here when we come back to Melbourne. Welcome back to our Fox Sports Net coverage of FIA Formula One World Championship racing from Melbourne, Australia. Brought to you by Pep Boys, cars like us, people love us. And by Toyota, every day, Toyota. Well, a good bit of drama, Derek, on the reconnaissance laps with backup cars rolling out.
Yes, and Artie had a problem, so he got out in his spare car, and I couldn't quite understand. There was lots of incidents we're here with Häkkinen. He kept in and out of the pits. One of the mechanics actually gets hit by that thing lowering down. See that? All their equipment, he dropped on the guy's head there. And that's why he was holding that hot, or sort of say, rather hot, but icy cloth through his head.
He dragged an air hose out the garage with him. What's it like to go around the Albert Park circuit? Let's ride along. Derek Bell.
Well, John Alesi's doing the driving, I'm sad to say, and John didn't qualify terribly well, but we're coming down into turns 3 and 4, working their way through this, sweeping out Remember, I said just now, it's a very smooth circuit, in fact too smooth, and they have to put a lot of downforce into the cars. It seems to work very well for the McLaren. They're working their way up to 175 miles an hour, and he's going to shift down to fourth gear as he sweeps through this corner at about 120 miles an hour, going past a bit of the marina, all the way around to the Clark curve. He's pulling 175, 180 miles an hour as he brakes all the way down to third gear, sweeps his way through, and then back through a left-hander, up to 110, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh gear, in some cases in the Ferrari and the McLaren, 180 miles an hour. As you can see, it is smooth, but it's a green circuit because it's only used once a year. And he sweeps through here, his fifth gear, and he works his way down, right the way down, or should I say up to 180, but then down again, right down to a very slow corner called Ascari, coming up a right-hander up here. Could be very precise. The circuit is bumpy under braking. You see as he tries to get that 780 horsepower, get the wheels on the road, works his way through Stewart, and then of course coming back down now to, in fact, the slowest corner on the circuit. He's only right down to second gear, 45 miles an hour, and then of course out to the last turn, out onto the pit straight. Vital to get it clear. There's your lap.
A great circuit here, and a lot of great support events to put some rubber down on the track and thrill these fans. They've had Formula 4, a Fords, a Porsche event, a BMW celebrity race, and Bob Jane's ex-NASCAR Winston Cup cars were here from Thunderdome to run a 8-lap NASCAR type event. Here's the starting lineup for today's race. Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard in the McLaren Mercedes share the front row as they did last year, just half a second apart. In row 2, Michael Schumacher on Ferrari and Rubens Barrichello, the great surprise for Stewart with the new Ford engine. Row 3, Heinz-Harald Frentzen places the Jordan on the third row, and Eddie Irvine for Ferrari. In the fourth row, Giancarlo Fisichella for Benetton, and Ralf Schumacher in his first ride for Williams. Back at row 5, Damon Hill in the Jordan Honda, and Alexander Wirtz for Benetton, 2.3 seconds off the pole time. Jacques Villeneuve's debut for British American Racing finds him in row 6 with Jarno Trulli for Prost. In the 7th row, Johnny Herbert's first ride for Jackie Stewart, and Pedro Diniz now with Sauber. In the 8th row, Alex Zanardi returning to Formula 1 after 2 kart championships, now with Williams, and Jean Alesi with Sauber carries our onboard camera today. Toru Takagi moves to the Arrows team at the last minute, ditching Mika Salo, and Pedro de la Rosa new with Arrows this year. Back at row 10, British American Racing's Ricardo Zonta makes his debut, and Olivier Panis for Prost with problems in qualifying. Luca Badoer, the former Ferrari test driver for Minardi, and Marc Genet, the Spaniard, did not run fast enough to qualify.
Well, they're working pretty hard here on David Coulthard's car as well. McLaren in a slight amount of chaos just before the start. They're always normally so calm, but it looked a bit chaotic right there.
And we'll be back looking to the start of the Grand Prix of Australia and the 1999 Formula 1 racing season right after this. Welcome back to Formula 1 racing coverage on Fox Sports Net. Mike Joy with Derek Bell and Peter Windsor. All cars now to the grid, wheels fitted and drivers installed as we close in on the start of the 1999 racing season. This race last year was not without its controversy. In an effort to keep their cars reliable and have their drivers not race each other, McLaren Mercedes had an agreement among their 2 drivers. Whichever one got to the first corner first would be allowed to win the race, and so David Coulthard stepped aside for Mika Hakkinen, who got the victory and was en route to his championship season. There's a look at the start with Hakkinen leading the run to turn 1. And with 3 laps to go, David Coulthard stepped aside. Hakkinen had made an first corner agreement. So will it happen again this year?
What do you think?
I wonder if I can win this time.
We'll tell you tomorrow. Maybe.
Well, I think Coulthard is, I wouldn't say he's out for blood, Derek, but he is certainly out to, let's say, avenge what happened to his reputation a year ago.
His reputation got such a hammering during the last year and the last few months. Everybody's saying he's too much of a gentleman. He's got to fight harder. And if anybody can respond, it's going to be David. He has the talent, he has the speed, but Hakkinen just somehow has that extra edge when it comes to it.
I'm going to compare them to Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa. Mark McGuire went out last year to hit home runs and nothing but. And look where his team finished. Sammy Sosa went out to hit home runs and get his team to the playoffs. And the Cubs made the playoffs. And he had a great season. So did David Coulthard. But part of his season was helping McLaren win that championship and supporting Hakkinen. Now it's a whole new year. Let's have a look at some of the strategies we'll be following today.
Well, as we've seen in qualifying, in practice sessions, a lot of people keep going off the road. The circuit, as I said, is very smooth, but these tyres with these extra grooves in are making the cars very critical. They suddenly go out of control, so look out for that. Obviously, early points are crucial. Everybody's got to finish this race to get points. It's so vital to carry it for the next month. It gives a good start to the year, and of course, overheating brakes. We've seen problems here before, a lot of deceleration, and we have some new braking systems, of course, we'll talk about later on the Benetton.
But trying to keep those cars in one piece, that is going to be the task here at Melbourne. If the trend continues, the winner of this race will be world champion. Every year since 1990, the driver who's won the opener has ended up world champion, except 1997, when Coulthard won this race and Jacques Villeneuve took the title. Well, Marc Gené is going to start this race. He was outside the 107% of the pole qualifying time, so was excluded from the lineup we received. But now we are told that he is going to the grid and is going to start.
He must have a lot of contact somewhere in high up places. But I just got to say, this is the most important start of the year for David Coulthard. And I'm not being melodramatic. He has to get off this start line better than he's ever done in his life before, and he's somehow got to lead through that first corner, because that, if he can get in the lead and lead Hakkinen and lead at the end of this race and go home with a victory, is going to make a bundle of difference to his results during the year.
All right, the cars are now moving into position on the starting grid, and you'll see the tree of lights as it goes dark. We'll be racing here in 1999. Well, the 1999 World Championship season, if the last car rolls into position, is set to start. Who will win the race to turn one?
There have been some moments there in the past. Being waved, so it's going to call off the start.
And a lot of yellow flags from mid-pack on back.
Oh, that's Barrichello's engine. No, it's Johnny Herbert. That is so sad.
Has he blown it up?
Yes, I think he has. Something's really expired on that brand new Ford engine. That is so sad. They just didn't need that at this point. Oh, look at it. They've got a fire underneath, oil puking everywhere. Poor old Johnny Herbert. He'd done so well in early practice, didn't so well in qualifying yesterday. But let me tell you, when you get a fire around your rear end, you jump out pretty quick.
Herbert looking to start his 130th Grand Prix race, and one of many drivers with renewed high hopes, a new team, a new arrangement. And here he was, just seconds from starting the 99 season, and it's all gone up in smoke.
Now they'll restart again. I think there's something like a 15
Look at that crew uniform on the left of the screen. I can't believe British American Racing, not only did they paint the cars with one livery on each side of the car, they've done the crew uniforms like that as well.
Well, they're trying to make a point, but they're going to be in a spot of bother, I think, with the Motorsports Commission when they get hauled up by Hall the Beak on March the 12th to discuss it. Well, now, of course, they're going to run off with his car, and they can bring the spare car out. And that is a lifesaver for Johnny Herbert. Let's just hope that the spare car is set up for him, and we will see in just a moment. He's talking with Jackie Stewart there, of course, the team chairman, the chairman of Stewart Racing. No reasons why this happened. Jackie, they've had such a great weekend. They had dismal 2 years. This weekend has been a fairy tale story so far until we see this.
All right, there will be a new formation lap now in just about 4.5 minutes, so the teams will once again prepare. Take a breath, folks. We're going to get this season started, but it's going to take a few minutes. Time for us to take a pit stop here on Fox Sports Net. Cars being rolled up to position here, rolled up or rolled off, because that's Barrichello, that's not Johnny Herbert. Climbing aboard the spare, which has had a nose pod put on it with his number 16, and the spare car is set up for Rubens.
I thought Johnny Herbert was the car on fire. There's Johnny.
I think it was.
I don't think Johnny's going to have a car. I think they've got a problem with Barrichello's car as well, and when we saw that car being pushed, it was being pushed back up the pit lane.
And who's this that's failed to get off?
The Ferrari, Schumacher.
Yes, it's Schumacher. Now they can give him a push to start the formation lap,
but he has to start from the back. He has to start from the back. You see, this is a simple. Remember when they were in Japan last year and he fouled up on the start? That was the clutch. They had a new clutch. And poor old Michael had to start from the back, and because the clutch got so hot that in fact it didn't function. A new system they used, and I think they had the same trouble there. He went to start and stalled it.
Apparently there was a line, a hydraulic line on that clutch that ran adjacent to a heat transfer unit, and it overheated.
Oh, and another one. This is Zont. This is not Zonta. I'm sorry. This is one of the two arrows, Takagi, who's got a problem as well.
Yeah, he has that distinctive green helmet. Goes nicely with that orange, does it not?
It's the colors that threw me.
We're having trouble getting this season started. Takagi came over from Tyrrell, bounced Mika Salo out of that seat. Salo was being paid over $1 million a year to drive, while Takagi brought, was it $5 or $6 million sponsorship with him rather than being paid to drive. So
poor old Mika Salo's out of the way, but he is doing the test driving for Honda with a view to doing their racing season in the year 2000, of course, with Honda producing their own cars.
So Takagi will go to the back of the grid as well, as will Schumacher.
That is really some help for those two McLaren boys. They're now on their own.
And we hope to get an update on the Stewart team. Johnny Herbert's car caught fire. It was a pretty impressive blaze underneath the engine cover. Rubens Barrichello went running to the garage, and he must have had a similar problem because he claimed the spare car. And we saw Johnny Herbert briefly standing in the garage without his helmet on. It was in this game of musical chairs. It was Herbert that was left standing without a seat to climb into.
Eventually we'll hear, but not exactly what the Blue Oval wanted this weekend. They wanted a good result, and it is so sad for Stewart Racing because they were doing so well all through the weekend. Those two Stewart cars have been in the top 3 or 4 places on the grid. Absolutely outstanding.
Barrichello was qualified 4th, and Johnny Herbert was scheduled to go off the grid in 13th position.
Now for McLaren, it's going to make it somewhat easier, you can say, as they go, because they know they haven't got the tigering of Michael Schumacher behind them. And there's Rubens going out. Of course, he will be jolly nearly a lap behind. No, he'll wait at the end of the pit lane. Sorry, he will wait at the end of the pit lane until the grid go by. So he will start very last. And then we'll see how he gets on with Schumacher only just 2 cars in front of him at the start. Of course, Michael will already have a running go. He has to wait for the last car to go by this point.
And for McLaren versus Ferrari or versus Schumacher, it's Deja Suzuka all over again, with Schumacher starting at the back. Both the McLaren Mercedes on front. Jordan moves up to the 2nd row. That's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. And then Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, so let's just see what Eddie Irvine can do from the 2nd row. Ferrari's hopes pinned on his shoulders, and he hasn't been happy all weekend either. Not at all.
Well, watch the lights now. Can we get the 1999 season started?
Now it's really up to see whether Coulthard goes.
Yellow flags at the back of the grid once again. 2 cars, and now just 1 failed to come off the grid.
I believe it's Michael Schumacher failed to come off the grid again at the back, unless he had a stormy start and came up that far there. Come on, Eddie. And of course.
And what a familiar sight, the silver arrows out front.
Here it is firing. Oh, that's somebody straight off. It looks like is that a Jordan?
Both Stewarts have had a wiring fire.
That is so sad after all they've gone through this weekend. Now just look at these 2 McLarens.
And was that Damon Hill off in the gravel?
Yes, I think it was. It certainly was a Jordan. I said it is so precarious. If you have to take evasive action while you're braking, you're going to go off the road because you have the little envelope of control, as they call it, is so small that they cannot get the car back under control again when it kicks out.
McLaren, Ferrari. As the season begins, pretty much like it ended or like it began last year.
Here's the beginning.
Oh, yes, that's
Damon Hill got punted there by looked like one of the Prosts.
A lot of wheel spin there.
Now we'll have to see what it might have been Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but I think it was Damon. We've just got to see how Heinz-Harald can make up some time. But he should be right behind Eddie Irvine.
Well, Mika Hakkinen beat David Coulthard to turn 1. Is that a harbinger of what's to happen at the end of this race?
Well, I'm sure it is. Of course, the problem is, as we know, that with these tyres as they are, if you can run close behind the car in front, as he is doing right there, he loses a tremendous amount of downforce and power, because the air is actually diverted away from the airbox. Right behind the driver's head there, it's diverted away, and you lose power. So he doesn't want to get too close behind the other McLaren, but at the same time, he's not going to go by him in.
Now, it was also noted in the post-qualifying interview that the inside lane where Coulthard was starting is not the racing line, so it's perhaps not as apt to have as good grip getting off the line as that outside lane.
Well, it didn't last year either, did it?
No.
poor guy. But they've already lost 3 seconds in the first lap to the McLarens, and this is a bit galling for the rest of the field. But writing was on the wall all weekend. There's something about those McLarens that when you have to put more downforce on, they can dial it in to get more mechanical grip better than any other car.
And Peter felt that it was likely this idea of movable ballast, that the cars are built so far under the required FIA minimum weight that they carry a significant amount of ballast, and that allows them to place that within the wheelbase pretty much where they choose.
In fact, Ferrari have actually lost 20 kilos, which is over 40 pounds during this winter, to allow them to move it around. In fact, Michael Schumacher's up to 17th place. I think he might have moved up a bit further than that in those few laps, but of course there's a lot of barging and moving and boring going on, so he has to be very cautious. He wants to get some points, and he's got to work his way through just to get in the top 6.
This means he's only gained 2 spots because Johnny Herbert not starting. Takagi was in the back of the field behind him.
And of course, we're seeing Heinz-Harald Frentzen, of course, in his new team. He had a very dismal time at Williams. He wasn't at all happy there. He's got back in the more family-type team of Jordan. Jordan have a big budget for this year, and he's in there, and he seems very, very happy, having qualified extremely well. They're in 5th place, and he's running now in 4th.
One pundit wrote that Frentzen was not happy with the Williams way of running the race, which was a constant stream of invectives in his ear from the pit-side radio.
Yes, you can do without that.
Yeah.
Some people hate the radio. I hate the radio when I'm driving because you can't hear it properly, and the radio systems aren't that good at 16,000, 17,000 hertz. Well, you can't hear very much.
Michael Schumacher up to 14th position, climbing through the field, not having as easy a time of it as he did at Suzuka, but then again, on that day, the title was on the line, and here it's a brand new book and a new page, and these drivers are anxious to make their own mark, not to move over for the driver contesting the final race of the championship. Not today.
Sadly for us, Damon Hill is out, but it'll please Schumacher, because he won't have to try and overtake him as he was trying to do in Japan. He failed dismally at it.
And, you know, interestingly, this week, Hill picked Schumacher to win the championship.
You know, the thing is, there is aggro between these drivers
Oh,
at
yes.
times. It's very competitive, but in reality, they still respect each other enough to tell the truth when it comes to it. And, of course, you know, time does heal.
Michael Schumacher in 14th position.
A really good shot of the Ferrari with Eddie Irvine. Sliding it through the corner. The point is, these tyres seem to work better the longer you run on them. They are very hard compounds. See, Bridgestone are the only tyre manufacturer in the series this year, so they can make the tyres harder, which makes their racing safer. At the same time, makes them a little bit cheaper too for Bridgestone.
So there's a look at the running order in the Grand Prix of Australia. The 1999 Formula One season is underway on Fox Sports Net. We'll be right back. Back to the Grand Prix of Australia. Michael Schumacher from the back of the grid to 14th position, trying to move up. Every night at 10 on Fox Sports Net, it's Fox Sports News Prime Time. All the scores, highlights, and breaking stories. Join Keith Olbermann for Fox Sports News Prime Time. Every night at 10, check your local listing. 3 cars out of the race. Johnny Herbert for the fire after the end of the formation lap. They're on the starting grid. Damon Hill getting punted off course less than a lap into this season. And Jean Alesi in the Sauber is out with gearbox problems. And that is a big shame because FIA czar Bernie Ecclestone has decreed that for the world feed, only one in-car camera picture shall be made available. There are others available for the digital Sky pay-per-view feed, but they designate 1 car per race to carry the in-car camera for you viewers. And this race, that was designated as Jean Alesi, and he is now by the roadside and will have no in-car for him.
Didn't we know that when we discussed it? Schumacher's up to 12th. Intriguing to know just what lap times he's doing, because he's carving his way up there, but the road's a little bit empty in front of him.
Long way to go. This race shortened to 57 laps by the aborted start. It was originally scheduled 58. Michael Schumacher in his 120th Grand Prix start, seeking his 34th victory, trying to bring Ferrari the first championship in what, 19 years?
Absolutely. I think that's Michael we're watching. I think that's Eddie Irvine we're watching. Sorry about that.
6 laps complete. McLaren Mercedes has led them all. Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard running 1-2. Last year they lapped the field. Everyone thought that this year, that would be unlikely.
Oh, look at it slide as he goes around there, trying to get the power out of the straightaway.
And now he's beginning to catch up traffic. And an update from scoring posts him in 13th position. Now, once he closes on a car, what will change to the aerodynamics of Schumacher's car, Derek?
He's going to lose a tremendous amount of downforce, and he's going to lose some power. This is the problem. Remember, when they had more rubber on the road, they could still get away with it in the corners, but now they lose downforce and they got less rubber. So, of course, they're going to get spoiled so badly. And, of course, as I said, the air going into his airbox, you can see right there above the driver's head, the ram effect is just going to be non-existent, and he's going to lose power as well. And you can see David Coulthard running about just over 1 second behind Mika there. That's just about right for him. And he's going to have to close up just before the pit stop, so he's right close behind Mika when they do their pit stop. So with a bit of luck, he might come out in front and Mika Hakkinen.
So it's not that Coulthard is necessarily slower than Hakkinen, it's that he wants his car in clean air.
Yeah, well, he's obviously... What normally happens, of course, is you also overheat the tyres being behind because you slide more. In this case, you do slide more, but you're not going to overheat the tyres because there isn't much power there, and they're a very hard compound.
Eddie Irvine running 3rd for Ferrari. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 4th for Jordan Honda. Jordan Mugen Honda, I should say. Ralf Schumacher is 5th. Giancarlo Fisichella there at the top of your screen. And Benetton in 6th.
There's Ralf right there, as you can see. We've now got an in-car camera here with Ralf Schumacher, which we didn't anticipate at all.
Well,
aren't they been good to us today?
Excuse me, and thank you, Bernie.
13.5-second lead. Let's just listen. Wonderful shot here. Ralf Schumacher chasing Heinz-Harald Frentzen in front of him. 2 young German drivers. Absolutely superb bit of driving. You'll notice on the wheel all those buttons, and of course on there as well as the buttons which do all sorts of different things, including just the mixture and things. He has his little gearbox button and he keeps switching and changing the gears. Really a wonderful bit of driving, and watch him over those bumps, really jarring around over bumps under braking.
Did I see your throttle foot quivering as we rode along there?
Yeah, I was really sweating for it. But he was really on the limit. That's Ralf Schumacher giving it his best. The guy has really developed. He's improved so much as a driver. It's his first drive in Williams. Last year he was with Jordan, you know, and did a very good job. This year he went to Williams. His next year, Williams will be running with BMW engines. Great future for Williams. That's why they're not using this as a tick-over year, believe me. But next year is very important for them as a BMW.
35th Grand Prix start for Ralf Schumacher today. This season and new career, so to speak. Well, you see the instability under braking and the front end really jumping around there. After 8 laps, let's look at the top 12. And a bit of a long slide here and off. Almost off. Luca Badoer.
Yeah, Luca Badoer. Oh, he's really calming some people up, pulling back in line as he goes as well in the Minardi. Now they're running a Ford engine that Jackie Stewart ran last year. We're riding again with Ralf Schumacher.
Plus miles an hour down to a second or third gear corner.
This is Renault engine versus Fusion Honda
Schumacher in 5th place in the Grand Prix of Australia on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Australia. Mika Hakkinen leading David Coulthard by just under 2 seconds. Eddie Irvine for Ferrari 3rd, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 4th, Ralf Schumacher, Giancarlo Fisichella in the points-paying positions. Jarno Trulli's in 7th, Jacques Villeneuve 8th. Pedro Diniz is 9th, Ricardo Zonta 10th, Michael Schumacher up for 11th, and De La Rosa is 12th. Some 10 laps in of the 57 that they'll run.
And I'm wondering where my man Zanardi is. For our American followers over here, we expect a little bit more of him this weekend.
There's the gap, 1.2 seconds, enough to keep Coulthard in clean air. Not to be aerodynamically hindered by Hakkinen's car. And in a position to run his own race. And would you say, are the McLarens on cruise control until his first pit stop now?
They most certainly are. They're just going to run at a certain pace, and obviously David's going to go at the same pace as Mika. They know the gap there is between them and Eddie Irvine, and that's what they're going to do until the first stop, or the stop. We're still not sure with this new type of tyre for louvers in the front tyres, whether we're actually going to see 2 stops or just 1 stop. There was even talk of Ferrari having no stops whatsoever.
And we've seen this in American racing series, where a series has had a variety of tire manufacturers, and then for one reason or another, in this case Goodyear decided to withdraw after the 1998 season, leaving Bridgestone as the sole tire supplier. That there is always a period of adaptation when the company now, with, as Peter said earlier, a virtual monopoly on this particular facet of the sport, can build a harder tire, 2 dry compounds, and where last year there were 3, this year only 2 wet weather compounds of tires. It makes for safer racing because there's not that competition and you don't err on the side of speed instead of safety. But there's a period of adaptation that goes on.
Michael having a real go there, I think, trying to work his way through the field. Michael will push all. Michael only knows how to go flat out the whole time, and he'll be pushing all the way.
Derek, it's been speculated that because Ferrari does all of their winter testing on high grip circuits, that perhaps they're not as well prepared for sliding those cars around here at Melbourne, as you see, as they might be, as some of the teams might be that tested on low grip circuits this winter.
Yeah, well, in fact, he did go to Barcelona as well. I mean, they did do testing at other places. When it snowed at Fiorano, they went off there for some testing and recorded quickest times. But the thing is about it is that this is exceptionally smooth, this surface, and they just have to put more downforce. And for some reason, McLaren and Adrian Newey, he's so clever, that designer, at getting the downforce onto a car and still make it go fast.
Mika Hakkinen leads David Coulthard, much the way the 1998 campaign started out, but that turned into no McLaren-Mercedes rout. Of course, went right down to what happened at Suzuka in the final race. The lead now just 1.1 seconds. Michael Schumacher trying to move up, and Eddie Irvine in 3rd. Peter, you followed the testing, the winter testing, very closely, and were on site for some of those events. As for Ferrari and their winter testing, what did you see?
Well, of course, one of the great things about Ferrari, Mike, is that they do test at Fiorano, at their own test track in Italy, and nearby at Mugello, a circuit they also own. The downside to that is that the car becomes very good at those 2 circuits, and as soon as they take it out of that environment, they potentially face problems. They came to Melbourne here. The track has nothing like the same amount of grip as Mugello and Ferrano, and they were just sliding all over the place in the first couple of days. Michael Schumacher was not a happy man on Friday and early on Saturday morning. But they did move ballast around inside the car. They worked very hard at the setup, and Schumacher got the car more or less to his liking by the end of qualifying. But today, I have to say, McLaren still look better. Back to you.
Pit stops begin.
Zanardi, who of course is quite well down in the pecking order, has come in very early. Now, whether he had a problem or not, we don't know. He's certainly not doing terribly well back there. I would have thought he might have wanted to tag on the back of Michael Schumacher and got some good, interesting revealing laps.
But his return to Formula One found him in 13th position when he made that pit stop. And it looks like he'll come out either just in front or just behind Mika Hakkinen in the pit lane. Actually out there just in front. Michael Schumacher was so incensed with the qualifying performance of his Ferrari as climbing out on the course. That's Jacques Villeneuve.
There's something hanging off the back right there, look. Something underneath. That's the end of that. But remember, here they're running the Renault Supertech engine. Oh, and David Coulthard straight in the garage. That was it.
Not
David
a pit stop, but in the garage and out of the race.
Well, there you go. You've now got a McLaren in the lead and a Ferrari second. David will be absolutely destroyed. Just distraught and so upset because, you know, he's out there with his one chance to get some points. He's going to be one group of points behind, provided Hakkinen doesn't have a simple problem. Remember that they were working on David's car as well as Mika's before the start of the race.
And he was just maintaining pace behind Mika. It did not appear as if Coulthard was overextending the car. Oh!
Whoa, look at this! Whoa. Lost the wing. That was Jacques Villeneuve. Lost the wing or something.
And they're going to bring out the safety car because that wing is littered all down that straightaway. There have been a number of rear wing failures during winter testing, so much so that Max Mosley issued some very strong warnings.
Here we go again, the wing just flying off there, Mike. Sorry to interrupt you, but look at it. Jack was a very lucky boy. Look at that, he hardly grazed the wall, but he's used to walls. Look at that, they're absolutely destroyed when that wing came off. As you said, they're having so many problems with these wings failing, and people are saying it's because they're trying to make the wings flex and lower down a bit at the back to get less drag and therefore more top speed.
Yeah, NASCAR fans are familiar with that from Daytona, how the teams will take the rear spoilers and try to make them so they will lay down in the wind and more top speed. And there is the thought in some circles that some of the Formula One teams have resorted to a similar strategy where some portion of the wing structure allows the wing to lay back for more top speed, and then as the car slows for the corner, the wing stands up to give more downforce. All of this would be highly illegal and, of course, unsafe because these parts aren't designed for that kind of flexing without fear of failure. Johnny Herbert had a bad crash in winter testing. He was one of just a number of drivers to suffer that kind of fate. So now the Mercedes safety car will pick up Mika Hakkinen and we'll have a whole new race again.
We haven't seen actually a failure of a wing for a long, long time back in the Formula One car. So now we're going to see whether, of course, they'll pick this as a good time to fuel and tires. I personally don't think so. I think it's far too early in the race because I believe it's only a one-stop race. And they won't want to come in and take a big load of fuel to take them to the end of the race. You see the Ferrari in second place, and Frenson's in third in the Jordan.
And already we've had enough surprises, Derek, to last us half a season. So we are under a full car's caution behind the safety car in the Grand Prix of Jacques Villeneuve's crash. We'll be right back with you on Fox Sports Net. The safety car has pulled off, and Mika Hakkinen has lost the lead. Eddie Irvine for Ferrari, and look at Frentzen down to the inside. Up for second on this restart and litter across the track.
Cars all over the place. Oh, and did he go in the tire wall there? I can't see. Look at Barrichello right up there.
Well, how about Eddie Irvine?
Absolutely outstanding.
Mika Hakkinen.
Absolutely outstanding. But you see, these guys aren't used to restarts. They're not like IndyCar drivers. They're not used to it. And he just didn't read it. You saw them all stacking up there, and that green went by, and that was the end of it. And of course, Eddie made it. Look at this. Oh, this is Trulli going by. Look at Trulli up to third place. What a thing.
That's amazing.
He's run very well. He was running 6th just now, but now he's back. He's up to third gear, up to third place. That'll give Michael a good run.
And where is Hakkinen? He is going to pit, we're told. Now, this caution was a tremendous break for Schumacher, who came all the way around to bunch up with the field in 7th place. At the restart, Hakkinen was the leader, Irvine second, Frentzen third, Ralf Schumacher fourth.
Here's just watch it again. Here's a look, you see. There's one of the Bennettons goes in the back, and Trulli yet again puts out Barrichello. Off goes, I think, one of the arrows over there. Bit of sliding around the back. Pani right back there. Here we go, back to it.
But now Irvine is the leader. Eddie Irvine racing in his 82nd Grand Prix. He has the longest 0-for streak currently in Formula One racing. 0 for 82, looking for his first victory.
I keep asking, will Michael give it to him this year? Well, Michael isn't going to give him anything, and Eddie's got to earn it. Eddie would love to earn it, and he's got to go out and prove that he can do it. He's got Heinz-Harald Frentzen very close behind him.
Now here's Schumacher, who restarted in 7th position. And Mika Hakkinen to the pits after a horrible restart.
And he didn't come in fast up to that line. He's going to quit, you know. He didn't come flying up and go over the line. He went over very slowly, so he didn't come in fast. He's allowed to do 50 miles an hour. He's stopped the engine. He's stopped the engine. He's got a problem. They're doing something on the side. Technically on the side there, those engineers. A long stop, up to about 15 seconds already. This is one of the problems he was having. Maybe it's the same as DC. They don't know what to do. He's saying, get out. Off you go. Off you go.
Derek, this could not have been a scheduled stop. It would be folly to ride out the caution period and stop one lap later.
Well, to me, he came in very slowly. He came in that pit road. Normally, they storm up to the line, put the rev limiter on, and drive, or the speed limiter, and then drive down the pit road at the speed limit. He came in really slowly. Now, I would say, basically, he's just lost the Grand Prix, which is going to, of course, open up the whole thing. Both McLarens are totally in the race, and he doesn't look all that fast. At the moment, he doesn't look that fast.
All right, now let's show you the restart. Eddie Irvine is the leader, and watch the red car in 2nd place on this restart drop down to the inside, and then the skirmish from there on back.
Look at him all passing by Hakkinen. He just couldn't get going. He just could not get any power at all. He's not even doing anything from where he is there. Something went wrong. Whether there's something technically that he has to switch on when he's on a pace lap to stop ruining the mixture on the car. We have this a lot in sports car racing. You flick a switch so you have a different mixture.
How about Jarno Trulli in 3rd place? Is that amazing?
That is amazing. Just what Prost needed.
Yes.
They needed that. They've had so much heartbreak in that French team. And of course it is a French team.
Now it was Ralf Schumacher who came up from 4th place to take 2nd at the first corner on the restart. And then he was repassed by Jarno Trulli.
How is that? Is Michael going to get by Ralf? It's going to be interesting to see. We're going to see Ralf now. He's really trying to prove his point. Look at Hakkinen going slowly. He's coming in. Mika's really got problems. He is coming in there.
Now David Coulthard, his teammate, is out of the race with hydraulic problems. Now Mika Hakkinen surrendering the lead on the restart to Eddie Irvine. Irvine has long said, and made a big point of saying all winter long, that he is proud to be number 2 to Michael Schumacher, and on any other team he would be the number 1 driver.
Well, we'll see just how good he is out in front. He's done this a few times, of course. Last year he did lead a Grand Prix, and the year before, but he ended up having to surrender it to Michael for the points. Now, it'll be interesting if Michael does happen to catch him up, whether Ferrari will get Eddie to move over to give Michael the maximum number of points, so for Michael's quest for the championship.
And Jarno Trulli is in a position to quadruple Port's total point output of last year. He had 1 6th-place finish for that.
Remember, Prost was world champion. He was one of the best drivers. They called him the teacher, the doctor, the professor. He was outstanding, a real talent, a technical man. And then he decided, rather foolishly, to run his own Formula 1 team. Rather like Jackie Stewart, and found it isn't quite as easy.
So Eddie Irvine is your leader. Out of the race, Johnny Herbert on fire. Damon Hill punted by Jarno Trulli. Jean Alesi gearbox. Jacques Villeneuve rear wing coming off in the resultant spin and crash. David Coulthard hydraulic problems.
Remember, of course, that Jacques was in the new car, the VAR car with the Renault. Was used to be the Mecca-Koenig. Zanardi over here has just gone off the road. We don't know where, but we'll be bringing it very shortly. Here he goes. Oh, look at him go. nasty crash, straight in the wall with the front. Oh, he's trying to get it into neutral. Well, he's actually might be trying to get it off the wall.
It's not going very far. He's a long slide through the grass, and he had it saved till it came cross-track on him. Mika Hakkinen is back in the pits, and he has the same difficulty as his teammate, hydraulics.
So these hydraulics, they run a major part of the engine. The safety car is out again to pick up the debris. Very wise, but of course this again is going to play into Michael Schumacher's hands. Here we go, look at Zanardi out in the grass, catches that bank, and of course he's lost probably a lot. Oh, he's losing it all the way. I thought he might have lost something from the rear end of the car as it hit the wall, but he didn't. Straight across the road. Once you're on that grass, there's no way you can control it.
And once again, the safety car gets a workout.
I was going to say, this is the only Mercedes on the track. But I shouldn't jest.
Derek.
That's awful.
It's a pretty one. You can buy that one. Well, actually, you can't. Interesting that among all of the equipment that Formula One sends over to Australia, they do not use local safety and medical cars. They send their own safety, everything comes with a Formula One circus. So we are under a full course caution behind the safety car for the second time today. What a day it's been. We'll be right back with you on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Australia. Pace car is off, and we are back to racing. Eddie Irvine leads Heinz-Harald Frentzen into the first corner. Single file restart this time without the drama of overtaking we had on that last restart. In third is Ralf Schumacher. Michael Schumacher in fourth. Follows his brother down into the corner. Then it's Pedro Niniz, Alexander Wirtz, Ricardo Zonta, Tiger Takagi. Gosh, the names that have vaulted to the front with both the McLaren Mercedes in the garage. Mika Hakkinen has retired his car with the same hydraulic problem that befell David Coulthard. So unlike last year, when the McLaren Mercedes lapped the field, both of them lapped the entire field, and here off is Genet.
And one of the Prosts is pulled over as well. He had just been in the pits just now for an early tyre change. It looked like it probably was one of the Panis. Here we go. Oh, they tangled. That was a tangle with Genet and Pani at the back.
And Genet, who started this race on appeal, was running up in 12th place. An impressive debut.
He was doing a very good job. A very, very good job indeed.
But as you said at the top of the show when we talked strategies, Derek, you have to finish here. Regardless of whatever else you do on the racetrack, you have to finish.
They've got to get the points. Now Michael Schumacher at this point is going to get, here we go again. Right down, he actually turned in. You see, total lack of experience. This guy was working with Price Waterhouse last week, but it shows lack of experience. All he's done is drive in a small series and stuff.
He had a 20-lap tryout with Minardi, which was long enough to find out if his sponsor's check would clear, and got the ride. Look at the rundown, your top 6-point paying positions with Eddie Irvine out front for Ferrari. Yellow's waving at that corner for the incident earlier. Mika Hakkinen in the garage, and moments ago coasted down the pit lane. A quick left and a sharp right and out of the race.
He must be staggered. I mean, it's so bad for McLaren, but I tell you what, without McLaren, it's one hell of a good race, isn't it? I'm enjoying this one. But Michael has dropped back 4 seconds. As you can see, Michael is back there, so he actually can't be running too well. He's fallen right back from the trio in front, so he maybe has a small problem.
All right, pick a winner. Eddie Irvine, hungry for victory, the longest 0 for active streak, 0 for 82. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, 1 win. He's with a new team, has a lot to prove. Who do you go with?
Schumacher actually was driving down the middle of the road. He's got a flat tire. Oh. Schumacher's got a flat tire. So that's why he was driving slowly, trying to get back to the pits. I thought he was going super slow back there. So this will be, and he's damaged his front wing. He's damaged his right front wing at the restart. So it looks like this is going to be one of those races. Not a good one for Michael. Got some involvement, I guess, in turn 1 as he went in there.
Remember last year when he ran in the back of Coulthard and almost 3-wheeled his way around the course. Almost got all the way back to the pits. So as long as that tire doesn't flail and tear apart the suspension, Schumacher may be able to get back in this. And it's been such a strange day. Don't count him out of the points.
Oh, no, they could have more full course yellows yet, which of course brings you back into contention. But Eddie Irvine looks pretty good out there. He keeps whipping out that second lead when he needs it. Alexander Wirtz has come in the pits, and he was in 7th position. In fact, in 6th position. He would have been in 5th with Michael's dilemma. He's come in for his quick stop. because at this point we just do not know. There's Eddie Irvine sweeping through again with Heinz-Harald Frentzen hanging on closely behind him. Frentzen trying to prove how good the Jordan is, and of course how good he is and how bad it was that Williams treated him last year so poorly.
And in sight, not far back of camera view. Now here's a look at Michael Schumacher, and watch the right rear tire.
You can hear it. Look at those bits coming off. I wonder why he was driving down the road as we did those close shots like that before.
And Pedro Diniz is out of the race, 4th place driver, and his day is done.
He was doing obviously an excellent drive on the situation. It's his first drive in a really competitive car. I mean, they used last year's Ferrari Formula 1 engine, the Sauber, quite a well-financed team. He should be very happy there, although there is a bit of dilemma over how much he still owes to Arrows from last year.
Diniz was poised to score his first Formula 1 points ever, and there you see him pull the Sauber Petronas off the course, and sadly out of this race.
Meanwhile, Eddie Irvine storms on, and Michael Schumacher's back out, fresh tyres, and they should have stuck a fresh nose on, and I believe they did. So we'll see just how far back he is. He shouldn't be a lap behind.
And we're coming up on halfway, so leaders' pit stops will be not too far off.
But Schumacher will have done his. He will now, I would imagine, have enough fuel to run to the end of the race. And tyres, so everybody's got to stop, but of course there'll be much quicker stops than others.
So Pedro Diniz joins Alex Zanardi, Mika Hakkinen, David Coulthard, Jacques Villeneuve, Jean Alesi, Damon Hill, Johnny Herbert out of the race. And Marc Gené.
Well, at least he had nearly half a Grand Prix. That's pretty good experience for him without too much excitement. But he must admit it was partially his fault, but it was a bit pushy, I thought, of Olivier Panis to take an inside line on a guy like Gené at this point of his career. The guy is so inexperienced, you don't do that sort of thing. Irvine, I have to say, so far, driving an absolutely faultless race. He's pulled out a couple of tenths there on the Jordan behind him, but he's got to pull out a bit more than that. The Jordan, of course, knows there's not much money getting close, but Eddie is not known for letting people buy. So it's really up to how the fuel stops, replenishment stops go in the next 10 laps as to how this thing turns out. And of course, Ferrari have been pretty red hot as far as red pit stops have been concerned.
You know, if ever there's a driver who has paid his dues and is deserving of a Grand Prix win, Eddie Irvine would be near the top of that list.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. Eddie has battled through. He's got a great sense of humour. He's been a great support to Michael. I mean, Ferraris have had no inside aggravation with that team since Eddie's been there. Wherever Michael's been before, there's been a lot of aggravation, but with Ferrari, none.
So Eddie Irvine leads Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Ralf Schumacher. What a Grand Prix this has been, and it's only half over. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Australia. 4th place Tiger Takagi came in, made his pit stop, and now he's back on course. Well, last year in Brazil, it was all McLaren Mercedes. Hakkinen and Coulthard finished 1-2, but after today in Australia, who knows what will happen. Tune into the Grand Prix of Brazil live Sunday, April 11th, here on Fox Sports Net. Eddie Irvine leads for Ferrari, trying to score his first Grand Prix victory. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 2nd, Ralf Schumacher is 3rd. Luca Badoer will move up to 4th with the Takagi pit stop. Pedro de la Rosa is now in 5th. In his first ride for Arrows, Ricardo Zonta, Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello after a pit stop and a 10-second penalty for jumping the restart that drops him from 5th back to about 9th. Stop for Ralf Schumacher.
He came in, he was in fact catching up, making up a lot of time on the guys in front, starting to pick up some good times on those last few laps, but came in for his stop at this point, probably while the track was clear, so when he went out he had a nice pivot of road to make up the time if he lost any.
So Ralf gives up, I believe he gave up 3rd position to Badoer. May not, there was quite a gap, and as you see, he has clear track both ahead and behind.
Yeah, well, the others have got to stop, and of course you have the situation with Eddie Irvine in front in the Ferrari, and Heinz-Harald sat very close behind. It makes you wonder whether he had been in front of Eddie Irvine, whether he'd have got away. So maybe he would have pulled away, but he cannot get by. As I said before, he loses downforce and loses some power. We'll see after the two of them with their pit stops.
I don't have enough time to look in the book to go as far back as I'd have to find out when Minardi scored a championship point. But Luca Badoer is in position to do that today. Here's Irvine.
No, he is coming a little bit faster than we saw Hakkinen. And so is Heinz-Harald Frentzen right behind him. Now this is going to be critical as to how they come out.
First and second place cars.
So let's see Ferrari, see what they do. This is going to make the difference at the end of this race. Remember, Ralf Schumacher's done his stop and he is out there. So they need to be quick on, boys. Not bad, 10 seconds, he's gone out ahead. Only just ahead, but he is. Rev limiter on, now he can let it all go out. Here they are coming out, pulling out ahead of Benison's. Oh, right between them. That is, of course, just what Eddie needed. He needed to have one of those Benisons or a car between him. The Benison is going to try and go by Eddie. Don't let him go by Eddie. It's going to cost you if you do. No, he didn't. He chops him across. The Benison guy wouldn't be quite as stupid as to do that. Fisichella, who we haven't actually seen much of lately. He was well up at the early part of the race.
Now that's busy. Alexander Wirtz exited the race. Broken rear suspension had him sliding off course.
Fisichella, I assume, probably hasn't done his, well, he wouldn't have done his stop yet, so he's got a pit stop to do. Now, I wonder where Ralf Schumacher is on the road compared to these two. Remember, Ralf actually had a slightly slower pit stop, a couple of seconds slower than these two gentlemen. But of course, that's just what Eddie Irvine needs. He needs Heinz-Harald Frentzen to have somebody in front of him to slow him down a bit. And you can see actually Heinz-Harald's got back a bit on these new tyres. Remember, they're all on the same tyres. And of course, they can play with tire pressure. They can alter the tire pressure and give a slightly different characteristic.
Well, there are two choices of compounds. Derek, and I believe Eddie Irvine has chosen the soft compound, as did Jarno Trulli. Both Arrows, both Saubers, and both of the British American Racing entries. So tires may be a factor with Irvine's on softs and the drivers chasing him on the harder compound. There's Eddie Irvine. 82 starts in Formula One, runner-up finishes. Never yet a win. Fizzy's pressing him pretty hard. Fisichella has yet to pit. And where is Frentzen? He is
well, he was 2.5 seconds behind during that lap, so he lost a lot of time early on there. But these tyres do take some time to really warm up. They're very hard compound, as we spoke about earlier. We said Bridgestone do have a monopoly in it. There you go, Fisichella is now second.
That's because he hasn't stopped.
He hasn't stopped yet. Right. And there behind you, you'll see the orange car of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But he is dropping back, or has dropped back some on his early laps. Maybe it takes some time to settle into those tyres.
Didn't take Eddie any time to warm up.
He warmed them up in a pit lane. Here we are, we're waiting probably for Michael Schumacher. No, they're just talking. I don't think Michael's going to have to come in again. He'll probably have to come in and park it. But with some of these stops, it's going to push Michael up the grid just a little bit. This is where I'd like to see Fisichella really showing himself. We expected great things of him last year. He's a great talent, but he seems to lose the trip somewhere in the middle, and he just backs off a little bit. Doesn't seem to have that push that the other drivers have, but he does have a magnificent talent nonetheless.
Fisichella finished 9th in the championship last year, and I think most observers would have placed him up at least 2 or 3 spots higher than that in the preseason ranking.
Just remember, probably somebody's saying, but why is he so close to Eddie Irvine? The reason is that Eddie Irvine has got full tanks, or fairly full tanks, and Fisichella's probably running low tanks of fuel, and of course his tyres are very warm, and we just hear they're getting ready for Fisichella. So aren't I clever? But that's what's happening. He's running on a pint of fuel, and Eddie's running on sort of something like 50 pounds of fuel. It's quite a major difference in weight. And Fizzy wouldn't be stupid to overtake now, and he just going to try and stay with him, so when he comes out, he isn't too far back.
21 laps to go here in the Grand Prix of Australia. First of 16 events on the Formula One schedule for 1999. You'll see them all here on Fox Sports Net.
21 laps remaining, and Eddie Irvine is actually gradually easing away from that orange car, the orange Jordan of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Nonetheless, a great result if it was to turn out this way for Jordan. They really deserved the results. They did well last year. We saw excellent ride at Spa from both Damon Hill and of course Ralf Schumacher at that time. And here we are. Remember, it's got the Fusion Honda engine, which is highly developed by Honda.
5 years in Formula One for Eddie Irvine. And today could be his day. How about De La Rosa in 5th and Tiger Takagi in 6th? You know, I don't want to demean them by calling them renter racers, but the idea the drivers who come and pay for their rides by bringing sponsorship are not expected to score in the points.
No, but of course he has got a talent. A lot of these,
Yes.
I mean, a tremendous amount of drivers have to bring money with them. Fisichella in the pit lane. So he should drop back. He'll drop back 2 or 3 places. He'll lose about 25 seconds with this jaunt into the pits. But De La Rosa, I mean, he hasn't got much experience, but he was the European Formula 3 champion. Formula 3000 champion, I do beg your pardon. I mean, very good young lad.
And that's tough competition.
And he won the Japanese championship 2 years ago, which is the same thing that Ralf Schumacher did before he came into Formula 1. So 11 seconds stop, plus, you know, 7 or 8 seconds each way coming in. He's lost 20-odd seconds, which puts him back some positions.
Will likely drop him to around 4th. Let's see as he comes back onto the circuit. Fisichella 26, starting his 42nd Grand Prix today. Finished 2nd, has 1 pole position. A total of 36 points.
One thing we did note, of course, is that Pedro de la Rosa was the Jordan test driver last year. He wasn't racing, he was test driving, so he's accustomed to driving good cars. So he obviously managed to get, oh look, who's coming in a bit slowly there. Michael coming in again, he doesn't seem fast. He's coming in very slowly. This is astonishing. The top contestants for the World Championship are not getting the points today. He obviously had a problem as he came around, thought I'd better go in and figured, did something, probably flicked a switch, found it all works and carried on. Don't think he lost too many places. Oh, he's winding it up again.
Well, he would certainly not be low on fuel with the stop that he's already made. So perhaps he sensed a problem and...
Oh, he's got gear problems. You can hear him, he's not getting gears. Now see Schumacher drive jam the right gear, as we've seen before when he came 2nd in the Grand Prix. Magnificent drive, running in 5th gear the whole way. Team took the lead until they saw the readout afterwards.
Sounds like a shifting there.
Shifting there, but it's those low gears. He's not getting them. The problem is, when you have a sequential gearbox, you cannot miss gears. If you miss, here we are, replay. It's just he's looking down. He decided the last minute to come in. He was going down to 2nd gear, or in fact down to 3rd gear. Can't get the gears.
Well, what may be the strangest day in the history of Formula One continues on Fox Sports Net after this. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Australia. 16 laps to go. Eddie Irvine leading Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Ralf Schumacher. Last year, Mika Hakkinen won the World Championship with 100 points. And you have a look at the top 6. Eddie Irvine was 4th in that championship. He's the race leader. Nobody behind him even figured in the championship chase. Heinz-Harald Frentzen was 7th. Schumacher back at 10th in the final tally. Fisichella was 9th. And here they all are in contention. De La Rosa in his first ever Grand Prix in a position to pick up 2 points. And Tiger Takagi is in 7th, just 1 spot away from the points in his first drive for Arrows.
The new driver's doing incredibly well, to be honest with you. But Michael Schumacher, we saw him having a bit of trouble with his car and slowing down. He came in the pits, found the gears, carried on out again, but was looking down at the electronics in the car. He then came in the next lap and they prepared a new steering wheel for him. One thing about electronics, he bolted it on, 4 new wheels, and off he went. So he's back in the hunt with all the gears working, but obviously way back on the field.
Well, with those lever-activated gear changes, everything from the steering wheel. It's remarkable that a problem of that magnitude, being unable to shift, could be solved just by swapping out the steering wheel, but that's just what happened.
That's the way it is. Just change electronics and all's good again. It's like the old days, you have to go around to change the coil. But of course, the thing we must note is both the McLarens were the latest spec cars. They were the last cars to go doing their testing, their shakedown tests in Europe. Vastly changed from last year, let me tell you. Lots of changes. And of course, here we watch Barry Keller really working hard on the back of the Arrows in front of him. Right up the back of the this moment.
And that's for 5th place.
That is for 5th place. Remember, he was the test driver for Jordan last year. We were saying what a great drive, but remember Barrichello was qualified incredibly well. He was up there in 4th place, had the problem on the grid with the fire, jumped in the spare car. Johnny Herbert didn't start, and he had to start from the back of the grid. He's worked his way out, doing a wonderful job.
You see this number on the side pod of the arrows, and it says minus 053. That number has changed every day. It's dropped down 1 digit. We're told it signifies 53 days to a major announcement by the Arrows team. We suspect for sponsorship, since otherwise that side pod is pretty blank. And I think that's just the day before practice for the San Marino Grand Prix, when that 53-day countdown now at 53. Yesterday 54 was on the car.
Well, of course, they have got a certain Nigerian Prince Malik, who has put a tremendous amount of money and support into this Arrows team. Big shake-up, big changes during the winter. The outcome was that they still required money. They had Mika Salo, who's a great talent, but they say that during testing it hasn't been running that well this winter, and that Takagi had been running exceptionally well, and he was bringing about $6-7 million. So why pay out $3 million to Salo when they could bring in $7 million from a Japanese driver called Takagi? And here the guy is doing a good job. So that is really the story, and these guys bringing the money are doing an excellent job today. Pedro Nissen was doing exceptionally well. Of course, Pedro drove also last year for Arrows, and he brought in $10 million too.
Now, oftentimes it's not about whether the driver is posting good enough times, it's whether the posting is in the right column of the checkbook. Oh, one of the Minardis.
That's Badoa.
Yes.
Badoa pulling off. That's sad. He was having a really good run. A really very, very good run for him.
And he was right at 8th place. Coasting off course. Minardi, they had a chance of picking up a championship point today. Genet out of the race early with a crash. He is the 13th retiree from the 22 starters.
A very talented driver, in fact. Of course, he is the test driver at Ferrari, is Luca Badoa. And he had to get special concession from Ferrari to drive for Minardi this year.
And I guess it points out the seriousness of Minardi that they would sign Badoa rather than one of the checkbook-waving drivers who was in search of a seat. That was about the last seat to be filled this year. Second to third, 4.7 seconds. And Frentzen back to Ralf Schumacher.
Well, Eddie hasn't got many laps to go now. He's got about 14 and a half laps to go. He's got 5 seconds lap lead over Frentzen, another 5 seconds over Ralf Schumacher. He has a nice cushion, and I think he's going to really pace himself really well.
What's it going to be like inside the cockpit of that Ferrari, Derek?
Well, it'll be absolutely spectacular for him. He has to, in my experience, but I've never driven Formula 1 in this way, but you have to concentrate and focus totally on getting it absolutely immaculate every corner, every braking point, and still go very, very fast, but not stress the engine. He might be dropping the revs back, losing 500 revs just to save it. But he's in a very strong position right now.
And as we talked at the start of the show, this is such a demanding circuit. There are 6 maximum speed areas of 170 to 180 miles an hour, followed by deep braking zones and downshifting from 7th down to 3rd or even 2nd gear. So I guess there are a lot of opportunities to make a mistake here, or to have a mistake, end up costing you either time, track position, or sliding off track.
Absolutely. They only come here once a year, and there's never any testing done, so there's no feedback from anybody else. He tests quite a lot, but they have a new car as well, do Ferrari. Lots of these teams have new cars, which we will talk about at some point.
All right, now last year's car was the F300, 300. They have a new numbering system. This year's car is the F399, 3 liters, 1999. Now, if you follow that system, next year's car would be the F300. Well, we'll have another new numbering system next year from Ferrari, I'm sure. Look at the list out of the race. Damon Hill crashed out. Johnny Herbert, engine fire on the formation lap. Jean Alesi, gearbox lap 1. Jacques Villeneuve losing the rear wing. Coulthard and Hakkinen hydraulics. Alex Zanardi slid off the course and crashed on the opposite wall. Olivier Panis overheating. Jarno Trulli spun. Marc Genet spun out of contention. Alexander Wurz broke the rear suspension. Pedro Nenit's gearbox problems, and Luca Badoer gearbox as well. That's a dozen cars out of the race and 10 running.
What an interesting 10 that are out there. Yes. Such an amazing bagatelle of cars that are out there. I just can't believe it.
Eddie Irvine's Ferrari leads from Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan Mugen Honda. This man, Ralf Schumacher, running in third in the Winfield Williams Supertech Power.
Can I just say one thing about the Supertech? Maybe some of our listeners or viewers have not realised that Supertech was the Renault Mechachrome company. Renault Mechachrome ran the semi-works engines for Renault, and now they are in the other team. Here we go.
Boy.
One of the arrows off the road. It's a lovely bit of grass there. They seem to whip it back on the road. We had a lot of that in qualifying, that last turn, didn't we?
That was Takagi. He had a lot of experience doing that with the Tyrrell last year.
He did. He's really getting sideways. But don't be fooled. These engines, that car there you see there, has got the Supertech engine. So is the BAR car, and so is Benetton. And it is the Renault engines built under license.
So behind Schumacher here comes Fisichella in the Benetton. Then De La Rosa in the Arrow, poised to pick up 2 points. Then Rubens Barrichello, who started fourth, made a pit stop, had a 10-second penalty, and now he's working his way back up through and into the final points-paying position. And perhaps Takagi's exuberance, occasioned by the fact that he's in 7th place, just 1 spot away from scoring points. And that would be just such a wonderful accomplishment for the young Japanese driver. Again, his first day with a new team is today for Arrows. And to finish in the points, that would really be tremendous for him.
Fastest lap for Schumacher of the race, 1:32.6. Who said the boy doesn't try? I was intrigued to know just how he's pressing on back there. I guess that shifter is working perfectly now. That's quicker than the McLaren's went. That's not bad because he's had a lot of fuel on board, just the same as the McLaren's did. So it shows that the Ferrari, the work they've done on the car this weekend, has improved it bit by bit. Of course, I'm starting from the back. Let's nail that somewhat.
Well, what a difference a year makes. 1 year ago, McLaren Mercedes, both cars lapped the entire field here at Australia, and now both cars are in the garage. And it is Eddie Irvine who is in position to pick up his first Grand Prix victory in this his 82nd start.
There was talk, of course, of would Michael Schumacher move over at a certain point if Michael had substantial lead in the championship and lead in the race. But here we have Eddie winning it on his absolutely his own ability in that regards.
Well, certainly the press will play a lot of what-ifs. What if the Mercedes McLaren didn't break? What if the race had started on its first try? What if there hadn't been that restart? And to all those what-ifs, I would say, so what? He has a 10.3 second advantage on the third place car. Frentzen is kind of split right between those two at about 5 seconds back. Irvine has led 30 of the 47 laps so far, taking the lead from Mika Hakkinen. And we're now showing 9 cars still running on course.
Ooh, Michael getting it very sideways coming in. He got in a bad shape there under braking coming in. Straightened it all out and carried on.
So Michael Schumacher still trying to move up through the field. We'll be right back with you on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Australia. Eddie Irvine trying to lap past Ricardo Zonta. 9 cars left running in what's been a wild day. It gets wild tonight on Going Deep. Chris Myers takes you past the headlines and inside the biggest stories for insight you just can't get anywhere else. It's like the 60 minutes of sports television. Join Chris Myers for Going Deep, Sundays at 9 on Fox Sports Net.
I just got to say this is a major problem for Eddie Irvine right now. He's lost nearly a second in the last 2 laps to Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's catching him behind. And this Zonta in front in his first Grand Prix and points playing position, well not quite, but he's getting close, is holding Eddie up, and Eddie's losing a lot of time. You can see in the background there Heinz-Harald catching him, and Zonta should make a move at some point to let Eddie by. It's just not good enough.
And a lot of angry waving of the blue flags by the corner marshals.
Well, he will get penalised by the organiser in a minute if he doesn't. Here he goes. Yes, he'll get penalised. You get penalised if you get cheated blue flags. But look at that, he's got a second and a half to Frentzen. Frentzen needs that, but Frenzen's got to get by Zonta as well. But they could be pals.
Now Zonta is a lap down, but he is the 7th place car. trying to catch up Takagi. Check that, he's the 8th place car, Takagi in 7th.
And this is when it's really frustrating. Eddie had not been cruising, he'd been driving very positively, not thinking about the victory, being very, very serious about taking the victory at the end of the race, but every lap has to be immaculate, and there he is losing major time, having worked his way ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Now he's got to contend with the fact he's caught up.
And I believe we saw that Frentzen had a much easier time with Zonta than did Eddie Irvine.
I would say the Zonta probably wasn't looking too much in his mirrors. I probably didn't see too many blue flags. The guy was too preoccupied with driving.
Get the watch on Irvine and Frentzen this time by. 7 laps remain. Irvine has not finished better than 3rd here. That was back in 1996.
Second best result in the Grand Prix so far.
Finished 4th here last year. His other 4 trips to Australia, he failed to finish.
And this Eddie Irvine is the guy that actually thumbed his nose at Ayrton Senna. His first Grand Prix, he was out there driving. I believe he may well have been in a Jordan. And he was out in his first race and it rained. And he actually tried to unlap himself past the great Ayrton Senna. Ayrton was really upset and they had a bit of a punch-up afterwards.
Well, Eddie Jordan has to be pleased with the run here of Heinz-Harald Frentzen in his first drive for the team. Currently posted in 2nd, and Ricardo Zonta holding up the race leader. Now pulls Frentzen well within sight of Eddie Irvine.
Catching is one thing, overtaking is another, and Eddie is not easy to overtake, nor is anybody when they're leading a Grand Prix. That first one.
Well, the 100,000 fans here have gotten more than their money's worth today. Just an incredulous day. You could not have scripted. First, who would believe that both Mercedes McLarens would be by the wayside and out of this race, or that only 9 cars would be running, or that several drivers would be in position to score their first ever championship points, or in the case of Irvine, perhaps his first win.
What's astonishing too is that both the Mercedes went out with the same engine problem, or hydraulic problem.
6 to go.
Oh, Eddie's opened up nearly another second on Frentzen on that lap. He was 4.0, he's now 4.9. Eddie's streaking away again.
Well, Irvine has long been the most quotable pundit along the pit lane. So I can't wait to hear the interview at race end. Well, last year it was Ferrari who kind of left Australia with their tail tucked between their legs. They got lapped in the race. Schumacher lost an engine, and they had a lot of work to do for Brazil, and now it's going to be Ron Dennis's crew with McLaren Mercedes. No way to tell at this point how simple or how complex the problem might be to put them out of the race. Certainly the cars were fast, but you don't score any points if you don't finish.
But it is Mercedes, and they will not make the same mistake twice, I would say. We had this once before with 2 engine problems, and it never appeared again. The sad thing for Schumacher is that he's not picking up a point, which of course Hakkinen will be over the moon about. But if Michael could have picked up a point or 2, you know how vital they are.
Yeah, that would have made a huge difference.
This man, Ralf Schumacher, has driven a magnificent drive. First drive in a Williams, but he's really shown such maturity now. Absolutely outstanding. When you think Zanardi's in the same team as him, he's totally outclassed him this weekend. And we really expect a lot more from Alexander.
Well, the drivers running 1, 2, 3 in this race qualified and started 6th, 5th, and 8th. You'll have to go a long way back in the book to find the last time something like that happened in Formula 1.
Well, I'm really glad they've had a good race, because certainly it was a bit dull at the beginning. Those McLarens are going, poor old public, pay all that money to come to these races.
Well, one thing we learned last year, everyone was afraid that after McLaren Mercedes lapped the field, that the whole season would be a snoozer, that they would just run away and everybody else would fight for scraps. Of course, Ferrari rose to the occasion. Jordan won a race. The season turned out to be anything but dull. So the one thing you can always safely say about Australia is that it is the predictor of nothing. Yes, as far as the season goes.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Eddie is the one that proves the point that he can win the World Championship after this. I did mention earlier, of course, about the Ferrari engine being 20 kilos lighter. That's 44 pounds lighter than it was last year. And they've lowered the centre of gravity, which of course meant the car is far, far better going around the corners. And of course, that means they can move the weight, this weight ballast they have to around the car. So the car is quite dramatically different. New suspension on the front and new suspension on the rear.
Well, no Argentine Grand Prix this year. They'll go to Brazil, but the issue was dollars. And with some of the financial climate in South America being what it is these days, the FIA, or rather Formula One, wanted some circuit improvements. Those would have been expensive, and also the money that Formula One wanted to stage the race. They came to a parting of ways, and no Argentine Grand Prix this year. The next stop will be Brazil, and then we move on. So Irvine's Ferrari continues to lead at about 4.5 seconds from the Jordan of Frentzen. And then Ralf Schumacher having an inspired drive in the Williams.
This could be, of course, Ferrari's 120th win, and what a feat for Bridgestone, who would love to see Ferrari win some races on their tyres, because without anything in the world, the Bridgestone tyres need a Ferrari. Ferrari's name is so big around the world.
Continuing to watch Ralf Schumacher here in third place. He's by himself on the track right now. Well, what a day it's been. The start of the race aborted. Cars stalling on the grid. Michael Schumacher having to go to the back of the grid. Takagi, Johnny Herbert's car, going up in flames, and Herbert a spectator. And then right on the first lap, they started sliding off. Damon Hill punted off the track. Alesi lost a gearbox. Later, Jacques Villeneuve, broken rear wing, and a crash. Genet with a crash. Both McLarens with hydraulic trouble. Zanardi crashed. Denitz out. Wirtz broke a rear suspension. And it goes on. 3 laps to go for Eddie Irvine.
He's got over 5-second lead. So he's just stroking it through. They're going to be happy in Belfast tonight, or should I say Dublin tonight. They're going to be absolutely going wild. He is such a popular driver. He's the sort of guy that a lot of drivers, a lot of people would like to be. He's so natural. He just takes life as it comes. He's going to be hang-ups. He just gets on with life. Doesn't really suffer fools. Just enjoys life.
His first Grand Prix was for Eddie Jordan at Japan at Suzuka, October of 1993. Finished 4th in last year's championship. Moving to Ferrari to backstop Michael Schumacher, but today the accolades and a tremendous drive to Eddie Irvine. What a manufacturer's championship we could have here with Ferrari leaving here with the championship lead. Jordan, Williams, McLaren with no points. Totally unlike what we thought at the top of the day.
To sum up Eddie Irvine, I'll tell a little brief story. I met him just a few weeks ago and we were discussing things. He said, you know, I love living in Milan. It's absolutely magnificent. So I said, you do, Eddie? He said, the girls absolutely love me. I have no trouble with the girls. There's so many of them. I said, but Eddie, I said, you are a multi-millionaire. You race for Ferrari and you're single and you live on your own. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for you. And he couldn't quite put it together.
Oh, I think he's got it pretty well together. Well, Stuart and Arrow is also figured to be in the points today. Rubens Barrichello has just done a tremendous job qualifying 4th, overcoming a 10-second penalty, and climbing up into the top 5. 2 laps to go.
I must admit, I think Michael Schumacher is going to be so thrilled for his brother doing so well in his first outing, and of course he's going to be delighted for Eddie Irvine doing such a great job up front. Because of course really that is constructors' points for Ferrari.
Oh, certainly.
Which is very, very important, because Ferrari haven't won the constructors' title for some time.
Takagi in 7th, Ricardo Zonta in 8th. For British American Racing, they'll have something to salvage from this day. And then Michael Schumacher posted 9th.
It's amazing that Ferrari just has to be the most popular name in motor racing in the world, and that sound is just unique.
It's the lust factor, Derek. There is not a man alive who's ever turned a key, snicked a car into gear, and didn't think that it was his own personal Ferrari. I mean, you can't. How do you lust after a Williams? You know, you can't really go out and buy one or drive one, but everybody can lust for a Ferrari. I mean, if you have any car sense, you cut your wrist, it bleeds Ferrari red. Now, come on. You've owned them.
I drove for them. So
drove for them, yes. I mean, there's I think more Walter Mitty to seeing that red car than perhaps any other.
Look right behind him. You notice that the Jordan has caught up right up on those last laps. There's 1 lap to go, but not for many feet behind him is that orange car. Pretty close behind him. It's not going to catch him, I don't think, unless Eddie does something wrong. The crowd are loving it. They all love a Ferrari victory. front, Eddie. Keep it cool. This is really the most difficult part of the whole race. This is the most difficult part. He knows he's got victory in his grasp, but he can so easily goof it. He doesn't want to wave to the fans who are waving at him. He doesn't wave at the corner workers. He just wants to bring it home. And there's great drive behind, of course, behind Harold. But he's not going to get Eddie at this point. Eddie's just got another 6 or 7 corners to go.
Horst, an important lap in Eddie Irvine's life. Tifosi flag waving.
Wonderful. Still too many Ferraris in Australia.
Quick left, right, and see the gap down at 2.3 seconds. Frentzen doing all he can. He's just going to run out of laps here as long as Irvine keeps it on the pavement.
Really is an outstanding moment for British motorsport, for Eddie Irvine, but for British motorsport, because Eddie really, really deserves. Here he comes, one more corner to go. And boy, there's going to get so much cheering, so much applause. So many people are going to be happy with this man. Absolutely brilliant. Look at it. Outrageous.
Bob Jane waves the checkered flag, and in his 82nd Grand Prix start, Eddie Irvine is at last a Formula One winner.
You'd never believed that before, but it is wonderful. Look at him. He's over the moon. Look at those Ferrari flags, man. Look at both hands. He can't believe it. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, look at him smoking those tyres. Brilliant drive from the two drivers behind him, Heinz Harold and young Ralf Schumacher. Brilliant look at Ferrari. They've got to be over the moon. I think they had a problem with Michael at the start. I bet they never imagined that they would come through to win the race. Immaculate race by Eddie Irvine. He's had some Michael coming up the inside there, I think, trying to say something to him. There he is.
Hope
look,
he sees him.
Michael's coming up to give him some congratulations, I assume. He's got to be so happy for Eddie. I don't think he does. He certainly is looking in his mirrors. Eddie is not looking behind. Here he comes.
There he gets him.
He's so happy for it. Look at Michael waving his fist. Absolutely brilliant. Outstanding. Greatest moment in his life.
Well, we'll be back with more from the Grand Prix of Australia. What a way to start a season. Stay with us. Eddie Irvine climbs out to the cheers of the Ferrari faithful and all the fans here at Melbourne. What a tremendous day.
There's his sister. That's his sister. Is he like his masseuse and looks after him? She's... Oh, she must be so happy for him. Great to see this enthusiasm. That is obviously like his crew chief is actually hugging him. He's the man that he talks to through the whole race, the whole way through. I mean, wonderful. The Ferrari enthusiasm, you have no idea what it's like to win in a Ferrari for Ferrari.
And that's such a big win for them as well, because like Eddie Irvine, they too have supported Michael Schumacher's efforts these years. Heinz-Harald Frentzen offering his congratulations.
Well, he must be so happy too.
Yes.
I mean, he's just proved that the doubters that he can do a good job.
Eddie Irvine, the winner for Ferrari. Heinz-Harald Frentzen finishing in second for Jordan. Ralf Schumacher third for Williams, both in their first drives for those teams. Giancarlo Fisichella fourth. And Rubens Barrichello up for fifth, overcoming that 10-second penalty for jumping the restart. Pedro de la Rosa will pick up the final championship point. Toru Takagi, seventh in his first ride for Arrows, and Michael Schumacher comes home in eighth. Ricardo Zonta was ninth. So driver points heading for Brazil. Eddie Irvine, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Schumacher, Fizzy, Barrichello. And the constructors lead to Ferrari, of course. Jordan, Williams, Benetton, Stewart in the points.
What a sight. So wonderful. This is almost like being at Monza, isn't it?
Yes.
With the crowd's enthusiasm. But they don't see any real international motorsport in Australia, and that's what it is. And you have to give it to them. They drag all these cars all that way. Brilliant.
Now, according to regulation, fans are not allowed out on the circuit at the conclusion of the race, but how do you hold back 100,000 people who are all as excited as Eddie Irvine is right now?
Oh, it's wild, isn't it? I love it. There you go, Bernie. Try and sort that one out.
There were that many Irish flags in in Australia. There's a lot of Italian flags as well for Ferrari.
Oh, they're wild. They're loving it. Here they go. This is the moment. Great for all three of them. Eddie was up there a lot of times, but he's never been up there on pole position, as they say.
I'll bet the view looks good from up there.
He's never seen that view from quite that high before. Oh, there's Jean Todt, head of the team. He's come up to get the Constructors' Trophy.
Anthems of Great Britain for Eddie Irvine and Italy for Ferrari.
And they will party tonight. Eddie's got a month till the next race. He will party.
For the month.
Yes. Can you imagine? His third year with Ferrari. He just wins his first Grand Prix. Very, very special.
Airways Limited. Jean Todt of Ferrari. To the second place driver, Heinz-Harald Frentzen from Jordan, the trophy presented by Mr. Ronald J. Walker, AOCBE, Chairman of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation.
Hard to
And
imagine
to the third place driver, the trophy presented to
swap rides at the end of last season that they'd end up battling each other for second place here in their very first race with their new teams.
So that's what they've been thinking as they were doing it.
Gentlemen, congratulations. The team, presentation team, leave the roster.
Now,
champagne!
He's going to have to get his hair wet. Down his shirt. Oh, Eddie, you ain't going to get away from it now.
Oh, it's the best shower he's ever had.
Sweet. Have a drink, Eddie. That's what it's for.
I think he's soaking his crew.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
All right, everybody have a taste. I don't care what kind of racing series it is, whether it's SCCA Regionals or whether it's Formula One, you've got to love a first-time winner.
Great.
We'll be back to hear from Eddie Irvine, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Ralf Schumacher. You're watching Formula One racing on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Formula One coverage on Fox Sports Net. 118,000 people in Melbourne celebrating Eddie Irvine's first ever Formula One victory. Drop us an email if you have comments or suggestions about our Formula One coverage. Our email address is formula1@foxsports.net. We'd like to hear from you. Well, let's go to the press conference and hear the comments of a happy first-time winner, runner-up, and third-place finisher.
Congratulations, Eddie Irvine. 82 attempts in your first win. How does it feel?
It's fantastic to do it with Ferrari. Is amazing. It was incredible all weekend. Me and my engineer, we've been just working away, doing our own thing, and we've made different choices from a lot of people on various things. And really, we were convinced we were going the right way. And apart from the McLarens, we proved we were. It's fantastic to do it with Ferrari, and after such a long time, and all the people have helped me, and from Formula Ford all the way up. It's a big thank you to everyone who helped me. They all know who they are, so there's so many. I'd be here for a few hours. I needed a lot of help to get here, believe me.
Eddie, the key moment seemed to be at the end of the first safety car period. How did you see that?
Well, Mika, I don't know, I think he was in a problem. He had a problem. He went very slow, and I knew the rule. As long as I didn't go ahead of him, it wasn't classed as overtaking, and he was going so slow, and I did him, and that was great. Thank you very much, and off I went. And then, obviously I knew I had to build a lead up for Heinz, obviously, because I didn't want to have him doing me at the pit stop, so I pushed like hell, and of course the next thing, just as I was building up a gap, the pace car came out again, and then I was lucky enough just to be able to build up a big enough gap to get out ahead of him for the second run, and then I think it was a BAR, held me up for about 4 laps. And it looked like his engine was about to blow, which was really worrying, because I thought, if that goes, I have a good chance of going off on the oil, but everything worked out okay. Can't complain.
Were you using a different race setup from Michael?
My car, we started off fairly similar, then we made a fairly fundamental change in the car, which I felt would be better. I'd tested it at Fiorano, and we came here, we tried it, and immediately I felt it didn't work, and Michael wasn't sure, so I went back to what I was happy with. And even on the Friday, I kept saying the car feels good, the car feels good. I don't understand why we're slow. And then Saturday again, the car felt good. I just couldn't do, weren't quick. And then today, the car felt good. It's a little bit unstable and a little bit quick change of direction, but actually the balance is fundamentally fantastic. To be honest, this is the best car I've ever driven, for sure.
Thanks, Eddie. Heinz Harald, your first race with Jordan, and straight away a podium in a second place. Tell us the story of your race.
Well, first of all, I'm very pleased with the second place with Jordan together. It's great to be on the podium. The race situation, like Eddie explained, the key point was the safety car situation. All of a sudden, Mika Häkkinen went slow, and I don't know why. I thought there was a bit of confusion because I didn't see any green flags at the end on the last lap, and I wasn't quite sure if it's really the end of the safety car time. But then I saw Ralph coming up on alongside, and I said, Jesus, he's going to overtake me just before the line. But luckily he didn't for him, but he passed me on the end of the straight. I could pass him back to the second corner, and I think that was the key point. And then Eddie was pushing like hell at the beginning. I tried to keep up with him. That's the strongest race I saw from Eddie so far, I have to say. Really, it was really going like hell. I was trying to keep on with him. And I was thinking he has on soft tires. He must be tired at least the tires, must be tied up a couple of while. But he keep on going, and I thought it's pretty difficult to beat Eddie today, and I tried to make my own race. I tried to do my own race then, and try to save the tires, and just drive behind Eddie. That's the only tactic I had.
Thanks, Heinz Harald. Ralph, again, a podium on the first race of Williams, but at the end of the race, a part of your car fell off. What happened there?
Well, I lost one of the barge boards, really. A few things of my car fell apart this race, and I had to slow down towards the end. I think everything went really good for us. I had a good start. Safety car could gain a few positions, gained Heinz's position, but he gained it back, which I promise you is the last time that happens to me, but anyway. So I think, I'm pretty happy the team is, and looking at Friday and Saturday's practice, we wouldn't have thought that, and so I'm really pleased.
Thanks, Ralph. Eddie, you're leading the World Championship. What now?
Yeah,
big party.
I'll have to speak to Jean Todt to see to see where I go from here. No, it's great. Just keep on doing it. You know, if I'm a bit lucky and Michael and the rest of them are a bit unlucky, you never know. I came here with very little testing, and I'm really pleased the way me and Luca worked together, my engineer. We really just did our own thing. We were very confident the way we went, and there was a lot of things that we had to improvise today really at the start and that, which I managed to remember all the sequences, which I was a bit worried about. So really everyone went well, and I'm glad my dad didn't come to this one, because he never comes to my first victories.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Perhaps now a word in your own language from Heinz and Ralph.
Eddie Irvine, his first Formula One victory, fourth here last year, got Ferrari's only points, and today scores a win. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, third last year, second. Today, Ralf Schumacher crashed on lap 1 here last year. Fisichella, Rubens Barrichello in the spare car up for fifth, and Pedro de la Rosa got the final point, then Takagi and Michael Schumacher.
Well, I thought the drive from the Stuart Ford, driver Barrichello, was outstanding. They had right up there, fourth in practice, fourth in qualifying. They had a disaster on the start line, starts from the back, does a great job. I was really thrilled for Ford, for Jackie Stewart, and of course Barrichello.
And that BAR that Eddie Irvine mentioned was Ricardo Zonta, and he did blow up just prior to the checkered flag and was not classified as a finisher. Our coverage from Melbourne will continue after this. Welcome back to Melbourne, Australia. The teams will pack up from here, and they'll have a month to think about a very long day before we go to Brazil in the Grand Prix. Sunday, April 11th, you'll see that live on Fox Sports Net at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Then in May, it's on to San Marino, Monaco, and Spain. In June, we'll be in Canada and the Grand Prix of France. In July, promise it won't rain in England this year, and then the Grand Prix of Austria. In August, we'll be at Germany, Hungary, and Belgium. September, Italy, and the Grand Prix of Europe. The new track in Malaysia gets its first Formula One race in October, along with a season ender in Japan. Well, when we saw all those yellow flags at the initial attempt at a start, we should have known it was going to be a very interesting and strange day. Johnny Herbert never got a lap. Barrichello took the spare car.
Mika Hakkinen had to come in the pits, having led the race quite a strong way. Problems the same as his teammate David Coulthard, who had previously retired, and that left both McLarens out of the running.
Michael Schumacher was unable to capitalize, however. First, he had to start from the back of the grid, then he shredded a tire, and finally had problems with his steering wheel mounted shifter, relegating Schumacher to 9th at the finish.
But it wasn't Michael, it was Ralf Schumacher that did pretty well today, and he had a fine race in his first drive in the Williams. He finished third. He was in that position most of the race, chasing Heinz-Harald Frentzen all the way. At the end of it, he was third, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen a fine second.
Well, it took 5 years of trying for Jordan and Ferrari, 82 starts, but now Eddie Irvine is a Formula One winner.
Yes, and I think the whole motor racing world will be really happy for him. Everybody will be over the moon.
For Derek Bell and Peter Windsor, I'm Mike Joy. Thanks for joining us at the Australian Grand Prix as we congratulate Eddie Irvine, the winner for Ferrari.